Now that the 540 boss rush week is completed, we know that our best farming day appears to be the Ahune farm. So I wanted to make a video here to update you guys on the adjustments we've made to this farming strategy. Getting Murloc Holmes up to about 210 hit points is especially useful because that makes sure that he doesn't die to the Frost Anomaly on turn 1 on any run. If you can also get him high enough so that on turn 2, after 2 activations of this equipment, he has higher attack than your Balinda's Water Elemental, that also helps simplify the run a bit. It's also helpful if he gets his hit points higher than Balinda after that second activation as well. Mine currently does not reach that health breakpoint, but he is high enough that my Balinda can shoot herself with a flame dart in order to make Holmes higher health than her if I need to. And that's just because there's some RNG on Ahune's abilities where turn 2 sometimes he'll use the Hail to the Lord ability, and that way you can ensure that your Holmes dies to that instead of your Balinda. If you don't have those breakpoints though, you can still win. You can still win if you lose Balinda. You can still win if you lose Holmes on turn 1, but it becomes a little more complicated to figure out the turns if you don't have those breakpoints. So we're also using our normal equipment here, Arena Contender Water Elemental. We're using 3 moves ahead because we need that for the Realities turn. We're using Scout Spyglass because that gives you an option to clear the ice shards, although we've revised the strategy where that's not necessary anymore. So you could use Ship's Bell or even a Swashbuckling Sash if you wanted to. And then we're using our heal equipment as usual. So in running this a few dozen times, we've started to, on the Discord, we've started to notice a few different optimizations here and there, and we've got it to a point now where there's not really a lot to think about on any of the turns if you meet those critical breakpoints. So we got 125 Frost here. You don't even have to look at this now with the way that we've got this strategy refined. So turn 1, you always Elementary on the Ellie, bounce, shoot this right one, and then if your Elementary hit points, so the 30 here, plus your base health on your Elemental is higher than the attack of these, then you swing at the left add. But because ours is not on this run, we're just going to pass with the Elemental. So that's really the only decision point on turn 1. You always do the same thing with your mercenaries. It's just a question of, do you swing at that left ice shard? Okay, we're going to put those same 3 mercenaries back out here. And turn 1 the positioning does matter, but turn 2 it does not. Because we have modified our strategy now. And turn 2 we're going to cast the And the Killer Is, and we're going to select the Last on the Scene, the second option, and cast it on Ahune here. So he is casting Hail to the Lord. So since we have the high attack, we're just going to swing with our Elemental there. Bwon always bounces. And then here we always cast Last on the Scene on Ahune, which obviously isn't going to do any damage. Also, because he's casting Hail to the Lord here, I would rather lose my Murloc Holmes, so I'm going to shoot my Balinda because of that health breakpoint I was talking about. It is okay if Balinda dies here though. So if you're not able to do this setup, that's fine. And then you'll see he does the 40 damage to his whole board because of that Last on Scene, and that persists through the rest of the match. So on turn 3 here, we use Bwonsamdi, Rogers, and Malchezaar. And even though he's going to act at 2 speed, we can do all of our actions before he gets to act. Also, out of like a few dozen runs, I have had him twice not cast Ice Storm on this turn. And there's ways to play around that, but I'm not going to get into it here because it's extremely rare and it's a lot of thinking for no good reason. So I'm not going to go into that detail unless it happens. But yeah, so you Master Tactician, your Malchezaar, you All Realities, and you use your deal here. Now, if you were using that Ship's Bell equipment, you would have to slow Ahune instead on this turn. it shouldn't really matter. It works either way. But I just use this and speed up my Malchezaar. And now, with the old strategy, you would not be able to bounce on this turn if he had a health anomaly because it would heal him after the bounce. But because we put that debuff on him with Holmes, now at the end of the turn, he's just going to clear all the shards. And you do need a rank 15 in that Killer Is ability for it to do 40 damage for this to work. I believe it does scale with the rank of that ability. That was something I overlooked at the start of the video. And then from here, we want to kill off our non-artillery mercenaries. And I usually use Genn just to... he's safer than Rogers. And they don't like to shoot at him because he's a lot fatter than these guys. So if you wanted to be safe, you could use your Beastly Beauty here. I'm not going to, though. You would then just have to like shoot your Balinda a bit more to get rid of her before the end of the fight for your artillery odds. And you can also like deal a vanity here to force them to shoot you if you wanted to go with that route. I guess I can go ahead and do that. You can also freeze if you want to. Also, the turn that Rogers is going to come out, I do like to have the Beastly Beauty cast available so that I can quickly top her off with her own self-heal and then ramp her health up for a bit of safety. Okay, and we're just going to kill this guy off, and then we'll worry about getting rid of Balinda next turn. And Belinda's lowest, so that should shoot her. I'm just going to not even act with these other guys. Alright, and now we've got a good setup here. So she'll get rid of herself before the summon goes off here. Alright, and that should do it for that fight. And now you just have to hit artillery. So you can see it's a pretty quick run. The only real decision making is towards the end of the fight. So it's not a mindless farm, but it keeps it from being as boring too, because you do have a small amount of decision making at the end. And it's only a few minutes for the Ahune fight, and then the hardest part about farming this is the artillery strike requirement. So this one's not too bad, only 180 on the red, but the last fight is 400 neutral. So you either got to hit the double artillery strike, which you have like a 57% chance to hit 2 artillery strikes by the last boss. So if you are running with only say 200 artillery strike, you can win the whole run like 57% of the time. But you're going to have streaks of bad luck and everything, and you'll only get partial renown for some of those runs. But it still should be pretty good renown, so I wouldn't write it off if you don't have the 400. But obviously if you do have, and actually you don't need the full 400, because you do, as you see here, you get these upgrades. So it goes up to 4, it gets upgraded twice by the time you get to the last boss. So if you had 392, and you hit 1 artillery strike at the start, then it would go up to 396 on the after Nightbane, and then go up to 400 after Coral Elemental. So 392 is actually the requirement to kill Chromaggus with a single artillery strike. And I'll go ahead and do one more run real quick, and then I'll cut this off as the demonstration of this new farming strategy. So that first run we had a high attack anomaly. If you get the low enough attack anomaly where the sum of your elementary hit points and your water elemental hit points is higher than the shard attack, then you get to do a double freeze on turn 1. and then you end up with like water elementals left over too that can make the cleanup even easier. Sometimes they end up dying to the Ice Shard summon Ice Storm anyway, so it's not like an enormous benefit for them to live. You'll get to see it here because we did get the low attack anomaly. So same actions with your mercenaries as always. And then we're going to swing on the left one this time, the only decision for turn 1. Okay, and then the same mercenaries come out for turn 2. And now we just check, is he casting the Hail to the Lord? So do we need to shoot our own Balinda because of this health difference here? Oh, he's doing the Icy Rage, so that's going to kill our Holmes every time. So we're going to still do the last on scene. And now she can just ramp instead. We don't need to swing with this. This will die next turn, the AoE, so I'm just going to swing with it for a bit of damage there. You don't have to do that, or you could just do that every time and just not worry about trying to save elementals for the end if you don't need them. But if you're on the weaker side and you need that extra elemental and it'll survive the frost anomaly on this next turn, you can try to preserve it. This turn should always be the same, but like I said, there is a very rare chance that he does something other than the Ice Shard summon this turn. And you don't act with this, or it messes up the into turn activation. Plus, it'll die to the AoE anyway, in this case. But you would want to not swing with that if it did survive. The other nice thing about this strategy is you tend to do the same thing on every run instead of having to make more decisions. And then it also hides your Rogers back on the bench, so you get like a really clean transition here with pre-frozen balanced Ice Shards. So the cleanup is just a lot cleaner. And as I said, you can summon that Genn summon if you need to. Juan will probably die before he acts, which is fine. Okay, and now we've got a Genn summon ready to help heal up our Rogers. And I'm just going to start shooting my Balinda, because we've already got this thing ready. And that also, it's nice when you get your Rogers above your Balinda, because then he just helps you finish her off. And you can freeze if you need to. I just did a little firing position to self-heal there. We'll save the elemental for the cast turn since he does less melee. Okay, and then that does it. So we'll see if we can hit another artillery, and then I'll go ahead and cut the video instead of making you guys watch everything blow up if we hit. That's a miss. And we got it. Okay, so that's another win. So, best farm for the week. Not one of the best farms, but pretty good if you meet the breakpoints. and you can kind of still do it with a bit lower stats on your stuff, but having water elemental health, having your Holmes leveled up is helpful, and it does go pretty smooth once you do have everything. So good luck on your farm.